The weather is about to take a major turn, leading to an extended period of severe conditions across multiple regions. Several storm systems are set to move across the country over the next several days, repeatedly creating environments capable of producing damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. The first round of storms will develop over the Great Plains and the Midwest, but this will only mark the beginning of a more active pattern. As the atmosphere continues to become increasingly favorable for severe weather, additional rounds of storms are expected to develop across multiple regions, setting the stage for a prolonged stretch of potentially dangerous conditions. We're heading into an active weather pattern, so let's get into the forecast. Severe weather potential over the next few days begins today, Tuesday, with a level 2 out of 5 slight risk in place for parts of the Dakotas and Nebraska. A broader marginal risk extends into the Texas Panhandle and New Mexico, with another marginal risk covering parts of the Southeast. Within and around these areas, scattered showers and thunderstorms are expected, including cities such as Oklahoma City, Birmingham, and Atlanta. The main concerns will be damaging wind gusts and large to very large hail, with some hail potentially reaching baseball to teacup size. There is also an elevated tornado risk just north of Rapid City, where a couple of discrete supercells could produce 1 or 2 tornadoes this afternoon. A strong tornado cannot be ruled out in this environment, so it is important to have a tornado action plan ready. There is at least a low chance of a live stream later today to track developments. As we move into tomorrow, the severe weather threat begins to shift eastward. The Midwest and even the Ozarks may see a return of severe weather later in the week, likely around Friday or Saturday rather than Wednesday. On Wednesday, a slight risk remains across the Dakotas and Minnesota, with a marginal risk extending back into the Texas Panhandle. Damaging winds and large to very large hail will again be the primary threats. Storms are expected to upscale more quickly, which should keep the tornado threat lower overall. However, northeastern South Dakota should remain on alert. By Thursday, severe weather continues across the upper Midwest and the central northern plains, with another slight risk in place. Giant hail, damaging winds, and a few tornadoes will all be possible. Looking ahead to Friday and Saturday, the severe weather risk shifts into the Midwest, Great Lakes, and parts of the central plains. These regions have seen relatively little severe weather over the past month, so preparedness is important. While it is still uncertain how organized the setup will be, at least isolated to scattered severe storms are expected, with potential for more organized activity. To understand this pattern, it is important to look at the jet stream. The atmosphere is currently in an omega block pattern, with high pressure over the southern plains and southwesterly flow over the Rockies. This setup is contributing to organized severe weather through midweek. However, the pattern is expected to change as a Pacific system moves inland late in the week. By Thursday through Saturday, a storm system will help shift southwesterly flow into the Ozarks and Midwest, while westerly flow develops across the northern plains. This could support a more organized severe weather event on Friday, although the exact level of organization remains uncertain. At minimum, isolated to scattered severe storms are expected. Saturday remains more uncertain as strengthening southwesterly flow expands across Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, while northern stream flow shifts eastward as high pressure rebuilds. Despite the uncertainty, 1 or possibly 2 organized severe weather days appear possible across the Midwest. Beyond that, the second week of June is shaping up to be significantly more active across the northern plains and Midwest, with multiple intense low pressure systems likely bringing repeated rounds of severe weather. This could include 1 or more tornado outbreaks as we approach mid-month. The overall pattern is clearly becoming more active over the next week. Before continuing the forecast, there is also a major announcement. The Weatherfront app is now available on desktop. Weatherfront for Web expands the iOS experience into a full weather command center designed for serious weather tracking. It features a dual pane and 4-pane viewing system, allowing radar, satellite, SPC outlooks, and multiple radar sites to be viewed simultaneously in one interface. The layout is fully customizable, enabling users to track storms without switching tabs. Additional tools include advanced storm tracking and timing features, smooth 24-hour radar loops, 12-hour satellite loops, instant radar switching, full resolution NWS data, live watches and warnings, outlooks, discussions, and access to more than 25 forecast models and ensembles for comparison and analysis. One standout feature is the ability to customize watch, warning, and advisory colors for a tailored setup. It's a complete weather platform designed to keep everything you need in one place. The Weatherfront web app is now available, so you can check it out at weatherfront.com. If you want the iOS version, there's a link at the top of the description, and Android support is coming very soon. Now let's get back to the forecast. If you're on iOS, they've also added storm chasers along with several other new features inside the Weatherfront app, so it's worth checking out through the download link in the description. Now, focusing again on the timing of severe weather, today will be another active day across much of the country. In the southern plains and southeast, including areas near Dallas, Lufkin, Houston, and surrounding regions, scattered showers and thunderstorms will develop this afternoon. These storms will be difficult to avoid, but the overall severe weather risk in these areas looks relatively low. That said, a couple of hail-producing storms are still possible near Dallas, Lufkin, and Houston, with hail potentially reaching around half-dollar size. It's not expected to be widespread, but conditions could still deteriorate quickly in isolated storms. The main concern for today is farther north across the northern plains. Storms are expected to initiate as early as mid-afternoon north of Fargo, primarily producing damaging wind gusts. Farther west, near Buffalo and Lemon, attention turns to the potential development of one or two discrete supercells. If these form, they could produce a tornado or even a strong tornado between roughly 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. By the evening hours, around 7 to 9 p.m., these storms are expected to organize rapidly into a broken line of thunderstorms. It will not be a solid, intense squall line, but damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour will be the primary threat. Later in the evening and overnight, this line should gradually weaken and fall apart. On Wednesday, severe weather will continue. There is potential for one or two isolated discrete supercells during the afternoon near Mobridge and west of Aberdeen. If these storms can remain isolated, a tornado threat would exist. However, the more likely outcome is that they quickly merge into clusters, leading mainly to a damaging wind threat across South Dakota and North Dakota, extending into areas near Fargo and into Minnesota by the mid to late evening. By the overnight hours, this line will weaken as it approaches Minneapolis. Thursday brings another round of severe weather. It begins again near Rapid City, where a discrete supercell could produce a significant tornado threat between roughly 2 and 8 p.m. This is a fairly typical setup for this region during this time of year in the northern plains. Outside of any isolated tornado potential, the main threats will be damaging winds and large to very large hail. Later in the evening, around 7 to 8 p.m., additional storms could develop north of Sioux Falls. If this occurs, the primary risks would again be large hail and damaging winds, with little tornado potential expected near Sioux Falls and Minneapolis. By late evening and overnight, most storms will weaken and dissipate. Attention then shifts to Friday, when severe weather becomes more widespread across the Midwest. The low pressure system responsible for earlier northern plain storms will gradually move east. Recent model trends suggest a slower progression of this system and a weaker high pressure ridge along the east coast, which opens the door for a broader severe weather setup. At this time, Friday looks to feature mainly large hail and damaging wind gusts. The tornado risk appears low for now, though that will depend on the exact strength and organization of the system as it evolves. While uncertainty remains high, scattered severe storms are expected at minimum. On Saturday, the system moves into the Great Lakes, potentially bringing additional severe storms to Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. These areas have seen very little severe weather recently, with Indiana and Ohio particularly quiet over the past month. Sunday remains uncertain. The European model shows a different evolution of the system across the Midwest and Northeast, so confidence is low in any specific outcome. However, at least some showers and storms are likely across the Northeast, with a low severe weather risk at this time. Looking ahead into next week, the pattern becomes more active again. By Monday and Tuesday, another round of severe storms is expected across the Dakotas and Nebraska as southwesterly flow returns and a trough develops over the Pacific Northwest. By Wednesday, severe weather chances may increase further, with the potential for more organized outbreaks beginning to return. While this is still several days out and subject to change, ensemble trends continue to support an increasing severe weather threat into mid-June across the central and northern plains and parts of the Midwest. Keep in mind for those in the Midwest that April is not usually the peak of severe weather season. It happened to be more active this year, but the primary severe weather window typically falls in June, July, and August. Over the next several several weeks, there will likely be multiple opportunities for significant storm systems across the region, so it's important to stay weather aware. It's also a good idea to share this information with friends and family in the Midwest, especially as we begin to transition into a more active pattern. After a relatively quiet May in many of these areas, we're now starting to see signs of a pickup in severe weather activity again. At the same time, the noticeable rainfall deficit that has built up across parts of the Midwest over the past several weeks is expected to begin closing. Over the next couple of weeks, rainfall should become much more widespread. The most active period for rainfall looks to be roughly between June 10th and June 15th, when multiple systems could move through the region. Overall, many areas in the Midwest are likely to pick up several inches of rain. Cities such as Fargo, Sioux Falls, and Minneapolis look set to receive beneficial rainfall, while Grand Forks could potentially approach around 5 inches of rain between now and June 13th. We also saw a very strong line of thunderstorms last night that developed from around Garden City and Dodge City and tracked all the way toward Tulsa. There were numerous storm reports associated with this system, and you can actually view this type of event animation in the Weatherfront app, where storm reports are overlaid directly with the thunderstorm line. Some locations experienced wind gusts in the 80 to 90 miles per hour range near Dodge City, which is extremely significant. Just north of the city, a 77 miles per hour wind gust was recorded, and there are indications that some areas may have briefly exceeded 80 miles per hour. While the system weakened somewhat as it approached Tulsa, it still produced a widespread swath of damaging winds across southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma. Another useful feature in the app is the wind gust visualization, which clearly shows how intense the winds were as the line moved across the region. The strongest impacts stretched through southern Kansas into northern Oklahoma before gradually weakening farther east. If you experienced this system, feel free to share what it was like in your area. Interestingly, the Wichita area narrowly avoided the most severe impacts, with the strongest winds staying just to the south. Wichita has largely been spared from significant severe weather this year, and hopefully that pattern continues. Thanks for watching today's forecast. If you're new, consider subscribing and check out the free Weatherfront app on desktop or iOS using the link in the description. The desktop version in particular offers a wide range of advanced features, including live storm chasers. See you in the next video or live stream.